I don't know about you, but really like just going into the woods and that, and just wandering about. It's like therapy for me. Scotland's a beautiful country. So I think it's time to tackle, my own dispositions on the topic of my own relationship to God, and actually try to articulate these thoughts out loud in real life, right? And this is an issue that I continue to have, especially. I'm a bit of a socially awkward person in that. I've got a lot going on my head, and I've got I get lots of trouble getting those ideas out there. But at least I'm working on it. This video's going to be a bit heavy, is what I'm trying to say, and there's going to be some jargon, and I might even separate them into two videos to make them a bit more manageable, because I know you guys got stuff to do. But here it goes then. When it comes to these issues of spirituality, then at the moment it's something that has been, shall we say, like relegated by modernity to be an even more commodified version of New Ageism, if that makes sense. At least where the normies of my generation are concerned, anyway. I think that most girls that I know at uni, like, they buy into this astrology stuff. Then again, most girls I'm friends with here are Europeans, as in continentals. There's a lot of Europeans in Scottish unis. But we're not here for that stuff today. We're here for specifically God-related stuff. So first, I'll just go through my own spiritual journey then, up to today. I suppose I start out as just apathetic and just young and stupid, didn't care, had no inclination for anything. But I suppose I was raised atheist. I was never baptised or anything. And then as I grew up, I get a little bit more into this new atheist kind of stuff, and I sort of learned to hate religion as like an organised institution. And all the usual talking points. Oh, so much needless death and pain has been caused by religion, and oh, don't you know the Austrian painter was Catholic? And I've still got this image of Richard Dawkins dissecting this giraffe and finding that, like, it's got this one nerve that goes all the way down its neck and then all the way back up again, or something, and that was supposed to prove that evolution was real or something. Yeah, I don't know. And I even, and for reasons that I won't elaborate on, attended this Christian youth meeting just a few times, and I ended up arguing with this bloke about how, Jesus didn't actually get resurrected, and he was like, oh no, how can 500 disciples be wrong? And I was like, people are wrong about things all the time, especially back in the old days when people were even less enlightened than we are now. And I and when I was writing philosophy essays in school, I deliberately wouldn't capitalize the G in God as like some kind of like rebellious I know better, like, attitude. I don't know. I look back on those days as with deep disdain, as I am now, infinitely more cynical and things. I understand that the way I used to act fills me with just fills me with shame. And although I do understand that it is natural to be this way in a way, because it's all part of one's journey to maturity. And yeah, still though, yeah, I'm glad I'm 18-year-old Quadsy and not 15-year-old Quadsy, in that respect at least. And as a little side note to that whole thing, a sort of someone who likes to take solace in the fact that even though I'm young and stupid, like, at least I can identify it and recognise that that is the case. Like, at least I'm capable of that amount of self-reflection. Like that, what's his name? Socrates, that bloke. He says, like, I know nothing. And I like to pride myself on being humble in that way. And just to see how arrogant and sure of myself I was, it's just frustrating to me. But I'm glad those times are over. Well, to the extent that they are. I suppose it's all part of maturing and growing up. And anyway, whilst this is all going on, there is this underlying untapped capacity for spirituality that I rarely got access to, but I've always considered to be myself like a non-materialist type, if that makes sense. For example, I remember that from an early age, I decided that I had an acute loathing for brands and branded clothes and stuff. I thought they were just disgusting, and I thought that these brands were just silly, and that they kind of denied your humanity or something. And still, when I see people out and about today, you know, who wear all this branded stuff, and I just think, like, are you even heckin' human? Like, oh yeah, by the way, no cursing today. We are doing a video about God after all, and like, yeah, just looking around, looking at these people, it's like they're possessed. You know, possessed people. I hate it. I just can't fathom how cooked you have to be in the mind to have to wear like the badge of a corporation and just not even give a second thought to it. To me, it just goes to show how infiltrated and unoriginal the people are. I don't know if any of this is resonating. I'm accentuating my elitist tone here. It's just, this is just, to me, it just goes to show how much of a sheep the people are. I don't know. And you know, yeah, and clothes shopping for me when I was younger was an absolute pain. I'm better at it now, yeah. I don't really mind too much. It's difficult to describe that feeling. Yeah, I just don't understand why someone would unironically wear like a massive brand on their chest, and like, it feels like just giving up your own humanity, and you're just giving it up so easily and visually, and you don't even care. I just hate it. And yeah, the most insidious thing that comes to mind is when I think about like the worst of the worst kind of thing. It's like 8-year-old white kids playing Fortnite, and they've got like the dope hat and like the gold chain, and it's just like a total inversion of what nature intended. Hopefully this is resonating. And if you're wondering, of course, yes, I am secretly like a grumpy old man. I don't know. I like that idea that I'm actually an old man. In many ways, being truly reactionary means understanding in your core and emulating the opinions of grumpy old grandpa. Spent a lot of time with my grandparents as growing up, so maybe they imprinted like some kind of reactionary seed early on. So anyway, yeah. As my own cognitive dissonance between being like hard atheist and also having this non-material side grows, I also start to, as I start to consume more reactionary content as well, I do eventually realise that, probably late last year, that there are more valid ways of understanding the world other than through the lens of science and materialism. You know, there are just some things that we know in our souls to be true, but which science cannot account for, or even words can't account for sometimes. So feelings we can't describe. And this theme is going to be something that keeps coming back because I've been inculcated into the worldview of science, and I'm always going to be drawn by scientific explanations to things. And this is something I want to explore further because I am a naughty child, and so I would say that I'm basically like naturally tailored to exist in a leftist tyranny, or at least that's what was intended for me. And so in that sense, I've had my spiritual side suppressed, and so as I in order to conform to their worldview, and so as it stands now, I definitely can't say that God is real, like literally God is actually real and truly believe what I just said. And I think for now that if I'm talking in like absolute terms, I think that there is no meaning to the universe. I think that's just the conclusion that my mind comes to. I'm not sure totally why that's the case, but that's just how I feel. So I want to get onto some reasons now for believing and not believing. I've overblown the introduction. Yeah, so one of the reasons that I'll do one reason, then I'll have to cut because I'll do a part 2. I'll let you get out of here. Yeah, so one of the reasons that I find belief in God to be attractive is, and after I've thought about this a bit, is simply that it's just tradition. Like, I can use my relationship to God to connect to my ancestors in a way that, just seeing my family Bible just can't, It's definitely one of these things it's definitely one of these like more inexplicable and spiritual deals. I know that my ancestors were religious, and this is something that kind of binds us together in a timeless and eternally significant way, which is something I quite like. The idea that I can still find myself in contact with my ancestors or whatever. It's quite a comforting thing. It's quite a comfy feeling for me to have that be possible. I also do plan on doing like this other philosophical video where about like the conservative and his relationship to time itself, and yeah, so stay tuned for that. I think that'll be interesting. So I will add that I'm more and more like unironically using my gran to judge my own behaviour, like using her criteria. Like whenever I'm doing something, I'm thinking like, would my ancestors approve of me if I did this? And like, if I have a crush on a girl, I'll be thinking, could I take you to see my gran? Like, would she approve of you? And on a more general point as well, I don't think it's important to keep your elders in your mind, and at least so you can like maintain a respect for them and keep them in your memories and keep their memory alive and protect their honor in a way, if that makes sense. And this just speaks to what I was saying about considering my very much dead ancestors' opinion on things, because when I do that, I suppose what I'm really doing is appealing to God in a way, because I'm finding a connection to them through him, right? And so I'm really asking, would God approve of this? Because my ancestors, I guess they held the ideals of God as their own ideals, right? Is this making sense? Because the memory and the spirit of the people whose genes I possess is still there when I decide to consult with God, to the extent that I even do that properly. There's also this the similarity of like my ancestors are judging me just as God does today. It's like they're backed up. Okay, actually, you could say that. Because I'm interested in what it truly means to be a conservative, right? That's like that's like a theme I want to be running through all my videos. Um, yeah, to derive, at least in part, one's identity from the physical and spiritual continuation of what came before you. I think that's like a quite a nice and succinct way of putting. That's like an aspect of what it really means to be a conservative. Just something to think about there. So yes, there's that. The people who came before you did it, so you do too. It's just tradition. There is this other tangent, but it's like a thought that's been simmering in my mind for ages. Is that it's that reactionary philosophy is like actually a form of political juvenoia, or maybe just like a very uncensored juvenoia. I don't know. Probably like just like a low IQ take there. Let's just move on. Yeah. So to close this this part one out, I just want to get onto this quickly. This other thing. There is this angle with the tradition thing that I want to probe a bit deeper, which is like the Protestant and Catholic split between within Christianity, and their kind of battle for supremacy within my mind. Because I remember when I was starting to explore more reactionary thought and let myself open up more spiritually, later last year that is, I remember really quite liking Protestantism, because at the time in my head it was the individualization and the redirection of the relationship to God to be a more personal affair that I saw as being like the foundation of liberalism and capitalism and like technological progress and all this. And I really enjoyed the individuality part of it, and I saw that as the point where Britain really took off, as it were. And also there was this great emphasis on modesty, and I really liked the Protestant work ethic and all these different aspects to Protestantism. Yeah. Obviously nowadays I'm a lot further down the pipeline, and so I can see all the flaws in that line of thinking. But I still appreciated the modesty part. So yeah, as I kind of came to understand Protestantism from the reactionary perspective, this kind of drew me more towards the kind of I don't know how to put it, like aristocratic and collectivist nature of Catholicism. Although I admit I don't know very much about Catholicism, but there is definitely that conflict in my mind. Of also that my ancestors are going to be of a strict Protestant and Anglican stock, right? So I don't know how they would react if I decided to become a born-again Catholic. And yeah, also I haven't mentioned Orthodox Church, and that's because I know even less, but I have heard that like Orthodoxy is like the most based out of the lot, so perhaps that's one to consider down the line. Yeah, just one more quick reason. Another reason possibly is that we'll get onto this later, but if I keep these higher ideals and values close to my heart, and kind of personify it as God, then this is going to be like a spiritual shield for my soul against the degeneracy and despair of the modern day. And it's like just something to rely on, if nothing else. I don't know. Anyway, that's part one. Stay tuned for part two. I've got some good ideas coming up, I think. So there we go. That is all. Carry on.